right, welcome to the fourth and final review of the evening. Up this time is Shovel Knight Dig. Shovel Knight Dig is the latest Shovel Knight spinoff from our good friends at Yacht Club Games. Right, so maybe there's been a bit of, not necessarily confusion, but obfuscation over what Shovel Knight Dig is. And I guess the best way to say it's kind of a digging roguelike.
Petty fan, don't be mean to the Boto.
I can be mean to whoever I want to be mean to.
I guess a, less charitable way, but nonetheless true statement on what Shovel Knight Dig is it's a pretty notable, it takes inspiration from the SteamWorld series, especially SteamWorld Heist.
I heard it also as being similar to Downwell.
Yeah, I can definitely see Downwell, though like Downwell isn't as restrictive. That is to say, it's there's not this many platforms and such, but I can definitely see Downwell. Artistically, this looks a lot more like the SteamWorld games as well.
Oh yeah, Downwell is very minimalist.
Yeah, but this is the Shovel Knight game where you actually dig
downward. Yes, he does dig quite a bit in the other games, but mostly horizontally, or like down a little bit and then climb back up.
But you're actually striking the earth and going through it this time. From what I understand, this is actually the earliest game in the timeline. Where
this is back when Shovel Knight was just an adventurer before the whole deal with the Enchantress and all those things.
And you are facing off against the organization, the Hexcavators. I think that's what they were called. Like, which consists of some new knights like Spore Knight, and you will fight old knights in new forms, like the Sealborn Mole Knight in this one. Yeah, Mole Knight shows up, but he attacks like a seal and is very aquatic.
Interesting. I'm not going to say that's wrong.
Yeah, and your task in Shovel Knight Dig is to get your shit back.
Yes, when they first broke ground with this tunnel thing, it took out Shovel Knight's bag, and he wants it back. And also, there's just treasure and stuff, which is, neat.
Yeah, and so you've got to dig and pogo jump and strike slash across, I think, at least 4 levels.
4 worlds, each of which has 3 subsections, I think.
Yeah, something like that. And there are also multiple paths you can take. You will get gems along the way, and
also it has leaderboards and daily and weekly challenges for people who are interested in that kind of thing.
Yeah, Petty is showing off one of the new mechanics, which is you will find keys and eggs in the level, and if you drag them off to the proper nest or door, you get a reward. And the thing is, there are different kinds of keys. If you get hit, you will drop the key.
Or egg.
Or egg. But it depends on the kind of material this thing is made out of. Like a glass, something will break after 1 hit. Versus a metal key, which will not break ever.
The eggs also get cracks on them.
Yeah. Okay, and Petty is showing off another mechanic of the game, which is the risk path.
Yeah, at every stretch of the level,
Yeah.
you
And
will have two choices of where to continue. Although sometimes, if you have not progressed far enough or gotten certain things, one of the choices will not be available to you. But
And Petty just demonstrated one of the, honestly my biggest problem with the game. The jump arc sucks. There's no other way to say it. Like,
why do you need to jump? You are supposed to be digging.
yeah, Shovel Knight just doesn't jump quite high enough in a good deal of instances. And it can be a legitimate problem. It led to some cheapness. And yeah.
Also, you don't have a whole lot of health because whole thing is structured as a roguelite. So there's a lot of like, well, your point is to die a lot and build up resources, so you'll be able to do better.
And
that said, a permanent health upgrade would have helped a lot.
Yeah, Betty, go buy that key, because that is a special key.
I bought one of those keys, but I lost it before I even got to the door that it allegedly unlocks. I know that they're for unlocking new relics, though.
Yes.
Which the relics in this are different. They're not like permanent sub-weapons because of the kind of game it is. When you get one, it has a limited number of uses. And then there are also like passive power-ups, and one of those is your relics have twice as many uses, which can be good for some of them because there are certain returning things, such as Polar Knight's horn, that friggin' just explodes like a 3 Shovel Knight radius around you. But they're also kind of expensive.
Yep. And yeah, there's also some quests based off of, honestly, stuff I never bothered to do intentionally, like getting through a level without jumping.
Which is possible if you just go down, I guess.
Yeah, I did it. I didn't intend on doing that, but I did it. Or never using the the pogo jump. Yeah. And if you'll note, the layout here is different. Another thing you can unlock at that other store is the different armors that you will often see in a Shovel Knight game.
But in order to do that, one of the permanent upgrades you get, quote unquote, is you have to find the armorer and bring him back to his shop.
The armor schematics. You still
no,
have to
first you have to find the armorer. He's not actually home.
Yes. Make sure you get the key. And yeah, you'll see random treasure chests and pouches.
Oh yeah, also these gold gears are kind of important-ish. Well, that key's dead.
Now it is.
Oh, no, it's still there. The golden gears also are somewhat important because when you get to an end of a leg and that one machine from the Hexcavators, I think, drops down, you put the gears you've got in it, and for one or two, I think it just gives you a little bit of gives you money and a little bit of healing. But if you get all three, you will get a choice of a random item or a full heal, which is nice. So here we've gotten to a point where we don't have whatever it takes to unlock the second path.
I never quite figured out what was behind that. Could be just the random roll of the dice. And also at those locations, you can unlock perks. Like a really good one is you can walk on spikes. Or you can unlock new techniques, that kind of thing.
So yeah, the side rooms usually have treasure, but they also often have a challenge that you have to complete, or you get killed.
Okay. Yeah, this guy, he'll sell you new techniques.
That can be good because you can get bonus.
Yeah.
Your basic offensive options in this game are extremely limited, let's say.
Like, I suppose when the final rundown is most of what you expect of what makes a Shovel Knight game is here, along with a few new tricks as you'd expect from a spin-off in kind of a new genre. I say kind of because you could still consider this to be a platformer. And I'll flat out state that no, this game is not as good as the Strike the Earth bundle.
Yeah, it's fine. It's fine for what it is, but I also feel that aside from the music and visuals, which are still great, this one is just a little bit less ambitious in terms of storytelling and both breadth and depth of actual gameplay.
It's also
as
unfortunately
you'd expect from a roguelite pit descender.
It's also not as interesting as the other Shovel Knight spin-off we've covered on the broadcast, Pocket Edition. Because at the very least, Pocket Edition was heading into a genre that not a lot of people make new games in.
The puzzle action.
Yeah, the Falling Blocks puzzle game.
Unfortunately, you cannot take 2 keys with you.
Yeah, and unfortunately, as I understand it, the Pocket Edition didn't do too hot. But I'm not surprised. It's once again, there are reasons why we don't see a lot of Falling Block games in this day and age. But I will say that I don't think that the actual release window of Pocket Edition was the best. Came out at the tail end of the year.
Also, I feel like I know it's a tradition, but I feel like the lose your wealth and regain it feature is a little bit superfluous here. Most of them, when you die, or when your run ends, most of the money you had gets saved, but an arbitrary about 20% of, or about 50% of it. No, it's an arbitrary amount of it. Just gets put in bags that fly around. The same ones as in every other Shovel Knight thing, admittedly.
Right, but you don't
for you to try to get back. But I feel like that kind of thing works better where there's more open design, where you have a chance of trying a different approach to get your stuff back, as opposed to just it being random and then they pass from left to right. Oh, you got to one of these things with a glass egg. Wow.
I still haven't figured out what this truffle fish does.
I think the truffles heal you or something. But as you can see, when you do get an egg, it hatches into a familiar, and then the familiar has its own little health that lasts a certain amount of time.
Anyway, also of note, this game is extremely difficult, as you expect from a roguelike.
When the intent is for you to lose a lot while playing it, so.
Yeah. You're going to die a lot. And
the routes have different icons to suggest some of what the biome beyond is like.
Yeah, and beyond this first stage, what you hit next will be it's one of those roguelikes where it depends. Sometimes it'll be the Fountain of Illusion, I think, and then the Incinerator, something like that, for the second stage. And oh dear God, do they get harder as you go along.
I think there may be different path. One of the things that some of the paths might unlock different further stages, but I'm not sure. Yeah.
Yes, I have seen that. And there is a fast travel system, but it works like Pocket Edition, where you have to pay. I think that's how it worked. You have to pay to unlock, and not just unlock the stage. You have to pay for a ticket. I wasn't a fan of it in Pocket Edition. I'm not a fan of it here. I get why it is, but I still don't like it.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, so I think that's a good roundup of what the game is. And as far as how
it still follows the Shovel Knight formula of look for unusual things on walls or floors, because sometimes they often have hidden stuff in them, which one of the power-ups is a thing detector, but like they're rarely that hidden.
I will say that this is still a solid time, but I do think we are also hitting a bit of the diminishing returns on Shovel Knight, or at least the concept of the Shovel Knight, because this was once again this was a lot less interesting to me than anything that's come before in terms of Shovel Knight, if only because we have the Steam World games and they kind of explored this concept. Arguably,
it's not bad. It's just there's not as much to it.
Yeah, but once again, that was the aim. I get that.
Mm-hmm.
But this is probably outside of Showdown, my least favorite Shovel Knight game. It's not a bad game. I'm just saying I've liked everything else from Shovel Knight more. Maybe Plague of Shadows is down below this. I genuinely didn't like the arcing in Plague of Shadows, but it's still a solid time.
I do think the boss design, I mean, it's still really hard, but I think the design of the bosses, especially, well, at least of Spore Knight, is actually really good. If you've played the areas ahead, you will recognize certain things. Like his head is one of those springy mushrooms. You can interact with it in some of the same ways.
Yeah. Also, the actual level, the boss level, will be randomly generated as well.
Like the exact shape of the floor in here.
Yep, that will change.
Mm-hmm.
So you can't get too complacent on a boss fight you've already done either.
Mm-hmm.
I will say that's a bit of good design there, keeping things fresh enough because to put it simply, you're not going to have the cash to use the fast travel all the time. Anyway, so this game is currently available on Steam, the Nintendo Switch, and Apple Arcade. I think it's coming to the PlayStation 4 later on. Don't quote me on that. It is a bit of an unusual range of systems there. And it's clocking in, at least for the console versions, at $24.99, which is an acceptable price for this, but I'd probably wait until this was 20, maybe 15, honestly. And the soundtrack is clocking in at $9.99. That's an easy recommendation, even without the game itself. It's another banger from Jake Kaufman.
Mm-hmm.
It sounds like a Shovel Knight soundtrack.
Mm-hmm.
So, anything else to add to the Shovel Knight Dig discussion here?
Just aside from further emphasizing that not as good as the other Shovel Knight games is definitely a long way from bad. There's a reason that Shovel Knight has done so much and become such a major fixture in indie games.
Yep. That being said, this does seem to be like the last of Shovel Knight for a while. Because
unless they decide to come back to it later for I don't know, some kind of Super Shovel Knight, or actually doing Shovel Knight 64.
From what I understand, they are working on a 3D game. That could be Shovel Knight, the 3D platformer. But
possibly. But they're working on Meat of the Hollower now, which is looking interesting. So
and they don't have any other spin-offs done by external developers announced quite yet. So until further notice, this is the last piece of Shovel Knight gamery we're going to be seeing for a bit of time. That's kind of weird to me. That we're looking at. I won't say the end of an era, because it could very well not be, but it is the end of an era.
Or the end of a beginning, anyway.
Yeah.
Oh, hey, here's the guy who does your armor, I think.
Yes.
You're going to need
to beat all the...
save him.
Betty Fang lives.
Yeah, well... That's about what I expected, though, is that he'd be one of the relatively early areas.
Yeah. Anyway. Yeah, still a solid recommendation. So, yeah, that'll about do it for this installment of the Fragments Silicon Reviews. The week ahead. So, let me see here. Get to the right page. On Wednesday, October 5th, we'll be having Elhito Maruhito of Peapod. I probably butchered that. Let me see. Trying to remember the game that we were talking about. Oops, I don't have it here. Live research. Anyway, have not gotten confirmation. Right, here we go. Supernova Tactics. Still need confirmation. Hopefully that'll happen in the next couple of days. We do have a Friday show this week, and we do have a new episode of Moonhawk Studios Presents planned for this week. And the guest is on track. Once again, don't have to worry about hurricane shit this week, so everything's looking on track. Anyway, on Friday...
I see that birders still have entirely too much hit points.
Yeah, on Friday, we'll be having Alan of Little Ghost. They are currently planning a Kickstarter for their upcoming game. It's actually launched right now. It is live as of October 1st. Puzzle platforming and exploration in a surreal paper world. And I believe the game is called, the game itself is called Little Ghost. So, look forward to that on Friday. And yes, until next time, I shall wish you good gaming.